Hi everybody, Happy New Year. It's 2020 and I hope you all are excited to start a new year. I know that I am. I always like it. It's like a new beginning. We try again, right? So today what we're going to do, I'm going to do a two-part video. The first thing is I want to show you how to make a keto egg loaf. So if you've not heard of this, it's really quite amazing. I know I was amazed the first time I tried it. It is a reminiscent of French toast. So if you're a big fan of French toast or even pancakes, maybe this will help with that craving and get you over that hump and give you a different alternative. I really like it. Like I said, I was so surprised when I made it the first time. I was a little bit leery. I was like, oh, I don't know how that's going to come out. It's weird. It's eggs, cream cheese, and butter. I don't know, but it comes out really good. The texture is very familiar. And I'm not even that big of a fan of French toast, but I really enjoy this. So you can kind of make it as sweet as you want it. Just kind of play around with it. We're going to do that a little bit today. I'm going to actually add some crushed walnuts for a little bit of texture, just because I want to try something different. So we're going to do that. Now, this recipe was made very popular by a girl on Instagram. I believe it's Sam I Am, who does a keto lifestyle. Like I said, I don't call my channel keto because I do between 20 and 30 grams of carbohydrates, but I don't follow the macros that a keto diet does. And that just is because of my own digestive issues and things that I have. So, but I do a lot of keto-friendly recipes. So that's what we're doing today. Now, the other part of this video, what I'm hoping to do is maybe sit down with you for a few minutes and just talk to you about how George and I have lost 50 pounds doing a low-carb diet, maybe some things that will help you along. So I figure I'll do that at the second half of this video. That way, if you just want to watch the egg loaf, you got it. You can watch it. You don't have to watch the rest of it. But if you're interested in knowing what worked for us, maybe it'll help you too. All right, so let's get started. Here we go. For our cast of characters today to make this recipe, we have 8 eggs going on over here. I have 8 ounces of cream cheese that I'm going to be softening. We're going to use 4 tablespoons of butter, just regular salted butter. We're going to use some brown swerve. This stuff is wonderful. This is one of those replacements that I use. It is not artificial sugar. It is a natural sweetener. So it is really delicious. I really like using that. I'm going to crush up a little bit of walnuts to put on top. I also have some cinnamon, a little bit of pumpkin pie spice, and some vanilla extract. And make sure you get the pure vanilla extract. Don't get the imitation. That actually has sugar added to it. We also have a 9x9 pan that I'm going to be spraying with some coconut oil. And then we have our trusty blender because we're just going to put all of this in the blender. So give me a second. I'm going to start getting some stuff softened up and then we will get this party started. Okay, so the first step is I have a microwave safe bowl. And we are going to soften our cream cheese. Again, this is just a block of it's just Philly regular cream cheese. And we're just going to soften it because we're going to put it into the blender. We're going to blend the cream cheese and the butter with the eggs and our seasonings. This is a really simple recipe. Doesn't have a lot of steps to it. Of course, if I can get the box open, that would be a lot easier, right? So, and because I'm just using a small bowl, probably melt the butter after. So I'm just going to pop this in the microwave for about 30 seconds. I've said before on my videos, when I'm using cream cheese, I always like to soften it in the microwave. I usually let it sit out on the counter for a half hour or so while I'm getting everything set up, but it doesn't soften it enough. And in this application, I don't want there to be any lumps. Although if there are, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm really excited for you guys to try this. I haven't made it in a while, so I'm also excited just to eat it. The other thing I did, let me start. This is going to be a preparation for breakfast for this week. So I like to prep things. You should really consider trying to prep if you're going to do a low carb or keto diet. That way you always have low carb options available to you, because even though you can go to the grocery store and get meat and cheese, that gets a little boring sometimes. But there are alternatives. But what I like to do is on the weekend, or if I have a day off during the week, I like to try to prep my stuff. So breakfast and lunch usually, and then of course dinner I try to plan out. That doesn't always work. So what this is going to be is I will have this for breakfast. I already cooked up some sausage, so I'll have little sausage patties, or a little sausage patty, and then a piece of this for French toast, which is just delicious and a great breakfast. So I'm going to go put this in the microwave for 30 seconds, and then we're going to dump that into our blender. Okay, so I had this in the microwave. I actually did it for about 40 seconds. It just wasn't quite as soft as I wanted it to be. So just one of those things. It's not always an exact science. And your microwave, of course, is going to vary. So you have a higher wattage, it might not take as long. So I just have, like I said, a regular blender. I'm sure you could do this in a food processor. I've not. I don't use the blender very often, but I have it, and that's what the recipe called for. So that's what I've used. So if you have one hanging around somewhere that you used to make margaritas in, well, now you got a new use for it. All right, so I am just going to put that in there. Now, the other thing I'm going to do is we're going to melt 4 tablespoons of butter. Now, the recipe that I had before was actually equal amounts of everything. So it has to do with this thing called an egg fast diet, which I'll talk to you a little bit about later on. But it's 1 tablespoon of cheese to 1 tablespoon of fat to 1 egg. But this particular recipe and the one that I've been using a lot actually has half of the butter, so it's only 4 tablespoons. So we're going to look on our handy dandy little guide there, and so it's just a half a stick of butter. Again, I'm going to pop that into the bowl, and we're going to put that in the microwave again for another 30 seconds just to melt that down. Okay, so we have our butter it's not all the way melted, but it is very soft in a little bit. So again, we're just going to dump that into our blender. I know you're thinking to yourself, how is this going to taste like French toast, Jackie? I don't know, it's magic. I've been actually wanting to play around with the savory option of this. I haven't done it yet, but it's something I'm going to do hopefully here soon and see how that turns out. I've tried a couple of the low carb breads. I'm not that enthused with them, but like I said, this just reminds me so much of bread. I can't help but think that it might work. Okay, so the next ingredient we're going to add are our eggs. So what I'm going to do is, because I used to just crack them and put them in here. One time I made it, and I guess I must have gotten some shell in. I didn't know. So you never knew when you were going to get a little crunch of shell. That's not really very pleasant, let me just tell you. It kind of, yeah, I actually stopped making it for a couple of months after that because I was just so like, oh, that was terrible. So what I'm going to do is, in this same bowl, is I'm just going to crack an egg. Make sure that there are no shells. Putting this in my little garbage bag I got over here. And then I'll just dump that in. So we're going to do that with our 8 eggs. Okay, so when you come back, we'll have that all done. Okay, so we've added all of our eggs to our blender. So now we're going to start adding our sweetener and our seasonings. So I wrote down what I did the last time because I wanted more than what the original recipe called for. So we're going to do 1.5 tablespoons of cinnamon. Sounds like a lot, but I really like cinnamon. It's good for you, and like I said, it just reminds me of French toast. So of course my measurements aren't going to be exact because, well, you know, if you've been watching me for any length of time, you know that I'm not really good with that. So we're just going to eyeball it. Try not to put like a whole, like 2 tablespoons. All right, that should work. So we have that, and then I'm going to put in a teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice. And the only reason I'm doing this is because I had it in the cupboard and I want to use it. And I think that it would be really good. I'm pretty sure I did this last time because I had it for, I think I made some pumpkin something. I don't know. But what else am I going to use it for? This will be good in here. And then I have 2.5 tablespoons of sweetener. So this is really going to vary on your taste. So if you wanted to try this and maybe you didn't want to do a whole batch, you could actually cut this in half. So that would be 4 ounces of cream cheese, 2 tablespoons of butter, and 4 eggs. You could do a much smaller loaf to try it and see how it works. And then, of course, adjust your seasonings accordingly. So you can kind of see if you want it to be a little bit more sweeter and more reminiscent of, you know, French toast, or maybe you like it a little bit more eggy. But this is, I like this particular recipe to be a little bit on the sweeter side because it doesn't remind me that I'm having scrambled eggs. For the most part. So this is that brown sugar swerve. I love this stuff. I found this one online, although I've recently been told by a friend of mine that she saw it at Walmart. So yay, Walmart. So the next time I need it, I'll use it then. I don't use a lot of it. I don't really bake. I don't do a lot of sweet kind of things. So this one I've had for quite a while. So I think I'm just going to put, maybe I'll put a little bit more. All right, put 2 tablespoons. Let's do a half. It's really cool because, I don't know if you can tell, but it looks and smells like brown sugar. I know. I believe it is stevia, if I remember correctly, on here. Let me look real quick and see. That's erythritol. Okay. Yeah. So, and like I said, it's a natural sweetener, so better for you than using like Equal or some of those other things. Okay, so that is all of our seasonings. So now what we're going to do is we're going to blend this. And I'm going to just blend it probably for 30 seconds at a time until it gets to be the consistency that I want. I'm not going to make you listen to that, but I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. Once we are done blending this, we are going to put it into a greased 9x9 pan. They call for an 11x7 or some such nonsense, or a loaf pan. I don't have those. So this is what I've done before. And then I'm going to crush up some walnuts, and we're going to sprinkle those on top for a little bit of texture. So I'll be back and I'll show you what it looks like once it's blended. Okay, so here is the finished product. You can see it's all nice and bubbly and frothy. Now this is the one time you really can't taste your food, although I did use farm fresh eggs. So when I blended it for about 15 seconds at medium speed. I took my rubber spatula and I just kind of made sure that all the cream cheese and butter was off of the sides. And then I did it for another 15 seconds. But I did taste a little bit off my spoon. I know I shouldn't have. I don't think that little tiny taste is going to make me sick. But it was, yeah, I think the sweetness and the cinnamon and everything is just right. So we're just pouring that into our greased 9x9 pan. Again, I used coconut spray to do this. Now, I will let you know that it rises like a souffle. So don't let it scare you. If you are nervous about it, overflowing in your oven, just put a sheet pan underneath. I might do that today just in case. I would rather be safe than sorry. But what happens is you'll look at it and you get kind of scared because it's all poofed up. But then when you bring it out of the oven, you start to let it cool, it actually will come back down. So there's a couple of little chunks of cream cheese left in there that I must not have gotten when I put the spatula in. And you know what? I'm not wasting it. We're just going to put it in there. It'd be a nice little surprise, right? It's cream cheese. How can you go wrong with that? All right, so we have that poured in. Our oven is preheated to 350, so we're good with that. So I'm just going to put this aside for a moment. And so walnuts are a good nut to have. They are on the lower carb index. Be careful of your pistachios and cashews. Those are a little bit higher natural sugars. So you just want to, if you eat them, just be real careful. You don't go over because that can add up really quickly if you're counting your carbs. So walnuts are a little bit better for you. Walnuts, almonds, are the ones that I use. Macadamias are really good because they're really high in natural fat. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to try not to scare my dog, is I just put about a handful and a half in a baggie. Oh, she's already running away. I'm going to take my mallet on the stove. It's really noisy. So I'm going to do this on the counter, but I'm just going to break it up so it's in little pieces, and then we're going to sprinkle it over the top. All right, so I crushed up my walnuts. I scared Sophie. She had to run back into the living room. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sprinkle these on top. Now, this is totally optional. Like I said, I've actually not done this before, but it just seemed like a good idea. Again, I really like texture with my food. So, and I just thought it would be a nice little addition. Like I said, I really like to play around in the kitchen. I call it my playground. That's why I asked you all to come play with me, because to me, this is fun. I like experimenting. All right, so dumped all those in. The other thing I'm going to do, just for giggles, is that pumpkin pie spice. I am just going to throw that on top. Now, this does not have any added sugar. It's cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg, allspice, okay? So I don't have to worry about any added sugars to it. And so we're going to sprinkle that on top. And we're going to put this in the oven, and it's going to bake at 350 for 30 to 40 minutes. I'm probably going to let it go closer to 40, if I remember correctly, just because I want to get that kind of spongy texture so that it reminds me of French toast. So we're just going to put that in the oven. All right, guys, I will be back to show you what it looks like when it's done. Aren't you excited? Okay, so we're going to go in. I want you to see what this looks like when I bring it out of the oven because it's going to be really poofy. Oh, but it didn't overflow. So we baked this for half an hour. You see how it like kind of puffs up? Like I said, it's like a souffle. So this is going to deflate a little bit as it cools down. So once it does that, I will cut it up into portions to have for the week. So we're going to let that cool off a little bit, and then I will show you what it looks like once it does that. Isn't it beautiful? It smells so good in here. Oh my goodness. If only I had smell-o-vision. All right, so we have been letting this sit for about 10 minutes or so, and as you can see, it deflated. So where before it was kind of like almost coming out of the pan, it is not now. So we're going to give this a taste. So I'm going to kind of cut into it. So it pulls right out. It's important to really liberally spray your pan. Oh, it's hot. Be careful. I'm always burning myself. Okay. So you can see how it looks there on the inside, kind of custardy, and we're going to grab a fork and give that a taste. Now, as I was putting stuff away, I realized that I forgot to add the vanilla extract, so that was my bad. Hopefully it'll still be delicious. A little hot. Yeah, okay, so I wish I would have remembered to put the vanilla in, but I didn't. It happens. You know, things in the kitchen, but it is delicious. So it's delicious as is. What I will probably do, or what I will do whenever I have it in the mornings for breakfast, is I will pop it in the microwave for about 30-45 seconds just to warm it up, and I'll eat it as is. Now I have in the past bought some sugar-free syrup to have on it. Now be careful, the ones in the store actually have just as many carbs in it as the regular syrups. So they add a bunch of different things into it to make it sweet. It's not good for you. The one that I found online was like Canto, Lackanto. I'll try to post a link to that on the bottom of the description so that if you're interested, you can check that out. It is a syrup that is made with monk fruit. It's delicious, but it's a little expensive, so that's why I only bought it the one time. Like I said, it is just the perfect amount of sweetness. It's delicious. I really like the nuts on it. I thought that was a really good addition. I'll have to write that down. So go ahead and try it. See if that maybe helps you with that breakfast craving or the brunch. And good luck. All right, guys, I'll be back in a couple of minutes, and I just want to talk to you for a few minutes about some tricks and tips that I use to keep me on the low-carb path. Hi everybody, I'm back. So this is just a little bit of a video. I just want to share with you some of the things that I have done to help me on this low carb path and to help keep the weight off. It's been just about 3 years now since George and I started eating this way. So one of the things is if you're not a full jump into it kind of person, and that can be really difficult, start making some better choices. When you order a sandwich, let's say you're out and you're with your friend or your family and you order a burger or a sandwich of some sort, just throw away the bread. Really, I mean, yes, it makes it a knife and fork kind of a meal usually, but it's still delicious and you're not just filling up on empty carbohydrates. It's not good for you. I mean, whether you're on a low carb diet or not, I mean, it just really isn't. It's just unbleached flour or bleached flour, and yeah, it's just not good. Anyway, so I've been eating that way for years, so that wasn't too hard for me. Also, starting to make some substitutions. So If you're used to having rice with your meals, try the cauliflower rice. It's really delicious. It gives you the very same texture, or it gives you a similar texture, mouth feel for it. You can season it any way you want to. You can do it in stir fries. I use it in soups. There's just so many different ways. You can do a fried rice with it. I mean, you just don't cook it for very long. You only cook it for a few minutes, but it's just an easy alternative. For noodles, one of the things that we do a lot of are zoodles or zucchini noodles. I bought a spiralizer online. I think it cost me like $15-20. It really wasn't very much. Comes in so handy. The kids actually prefer that to regular spaghetti. So these are just some of the like small substitutions that you can make. So I have a video and I'll post a link up here to it for the seed crackers. So I'm a salty kind of girl. I'm not big on sweets, but I do like chips and pretzels and those kind of things. That was probably the hardest thing for me to give up. So the seed crackers have really helped me with that. It gives me that crunch and that salt factor so that I'm not missing the potato chips so much. The other thing that I like to use, I'm not a big pork rind fan just to sit and eat a bag of pork rinds. Like, that's not my thing. I use plain pork rinds for breading. They're great. You put them in the food processor, you process them until they're very fine. They make a wonderful breading. You mix that with a little bit of Parmesan cheese. You can use it for chicken, pork, fish, I mean anything. It's great. The other thing that I found is this brand. This is Max brand. These are salt and pepper pork rinds. Now these are really good if I want a dip and the seed crackers aren't quite cutting it. I want something with a bit more crunch that reminds me of a potato chip. So maybe if I make some guacamole or even some salsa, I'll use these. They're really quite delicious. Again, I'm not going to just sit and eat them out of the bag. That's not my gig. I'm not judging though. You do whatever you need to do. But this has been a great find for me. The other thing is, instead of croutons in soup or salad, because we eat a lot of soup and a lot of salads, I found it's also the same brand. It's Max. These are crackling curls, so they're crunchier than the regular pork rinds. I have found the original flavor and then hot and spicy. What I like to do is I will break them up and I use them in my soups for that crunch factor, or in my salads. Like when I do taco salads, I like to break these up and put in, instead of like a crunchy tortilla. So those are just a couple of the pork rinds that I like to use. They're the best flavors. The spicy ones, some of them have a little extra added sugar, so be careful. Again, portion control. This kind of diet does not give you permission to just eat, whatever you want or however much you want. You still want to be careful of not overdoing it. One of the other things, and I have shared this before, is Primal Kitchen makes unsweetened sauces. So I have ketchup that I love. There's a steak sauce. It's really thin, so be careful with it, but it's so good. And the other one that I just recently discovered we made some chicken, is golden barbecue sauce. And I think they have a regular one too. Again, no added sugar. It's organic. It's a little expensive. So this particular bottle, the price tag is still on it, so it cost me $6. But to me, it's worth spending a few extra dollars on something that I know is not going to mess up my blood sugar. It's not going to mess up my low carb lifestyle, and it tastes delicious. I can't have regular ketchup or barbecue sauce. Like, even if I accidentally get it when I'm eating out, it is so horribly sweet. I can't stomach it. It's really weird how your taste buds change. So that using natural fats, I said I always save my bacon fat whenever we do the bacon. We always bake that in the oven. It's much easier to clean up, and I just save that in a glass jar. When I make hamburger, if it's a fattier hamburger, I save that fat to use later. I use regular butter. I use some olive oil and some coconut oil. But for the most part, I just kind of use the fat from the food that I've already cooked. And that way you're also, you're not wasting it. I mean, yeah. It's good, and fat is flavor. Like, I didn't realize that. I followed a low-fat diet for years. I did a no-fat diet for several years when I was trying to lose weight before I had gastric bypass surgery. The doctors couldn't figure out what was going on. I just kept gaining and gaining, and they were putting me on all these diets: a low-sodium diet, a fat-free diet, a low-fat diet. I was vegetarian for years. I was exercising like crazy, and nothing was working, and my metabolism had just stopped. And they think partly that was from the diabetes. I was out of control with that. I didn't realize that oatmeal I was eating for breakfast, and the vegetarian options. I was doing a lot of pastas and stuff. Again, this was before the gastric bypass. Didn't realize that that's what was affecting my blood sugar so much. So if you're considering gastric bypass surgery, please do your research. There's a lot of complications. I mean, it helps so many people. It really helped me to get my diabetes back under control. I was able to lose 150 pounds. I mean, it taught me a lot about nutrition. But it's really hard work, and you have to really change your mindset. Just the carbohydrates, they taste good, so they kind of creep back in. And yeah, you can't eat as much as you did before the surgery, but if you continue to eat crap, like even if it's a half a donut or a half a bag of chips, or you're gonna have some fried food, or I want some french fries, I'm just going to be able to eat a handful of them. I'm telling you what, those carbs, that fat will come right back on. I gained 50 pounds back. I was able to lose that by kind of going back to my bariatric roots. So just be careful of that, because the complications that you can have from the gastric bypass are really serious. It affects you. I'm almost 20 years out. I have low iron. I have to be careful of that. I really have to watch my calcium. I have to take a lot of vitamins. So this is important for you to know. I think a lot of people don't realize. They think it's a quick fix. It's not. A lot of it is psychological as well as your diet. Okay, so not to discourage you, but I researched it for a year before I decided that was going to be the right path for me. So just keep that in mind. And a low carb diet doesn't work for everybody. And if it's not working for you, maybe you've tried it, try to like really look, maybe write down what you're eating for just a couple of days and see if maybe they're creeping in where you don't think. So maybe you really like cashews. They're really high in natural sugars though, and that's really a no-no on this kind of diet. But you love them and you want them. Okay, that's fine. 5 or 6, that's all. Make sure you portion those out. It's really, really important. Peanuts are the same thing. I love roasted salted peanuts, but when I eat them, I measure out less than a quarter of a cup, probably a teaspoon or 2, and that's all I eat. I'm just trying to be really careful with that. Same thing with the almonds. I really like almonds, just regular salted almonds. I put those in a little container. It's a half-cup container, so I know that if I've eaten half, because I keep those in my drawer at work, then that's it. That's it for the day. So these are just a couple of little things. Pre-plan a little bit. Try to make sure that you have meat and cheese options available. I do a lot of hard-boiled eggs. I do a lot of eggs in general. Oh, I touched on with the egg loaf that I just made. Okay, so in my research with a ketogenic or low-carb diet, very restricted low-carb diet, I came across something that was called an egg fast. And this is something that is a very short-term diet, I guess. You really only do it for 3 or 4 days, and it's to help you if you have reached a plateau, or maybe you had a cheat day and you just went way off and you just ate all these carbs and now you feel like crap and you kind of want to get back into ketosis. So there is a website that I like. I watch her quite a bit, or I look at her stuff and I like her recipes. It is, oh, hold on. I breathe, I'm hungry. So I will link her website into the description. You should check her out. She has a lot of information on this egg fast. What it is you pretty much, for like breakfast, lunch, and dinner and a snack, it's eggs, fat, and cheese. So it's 1 egg, 1 tablespoon of fat, and 1 tablespoon of cheese. So I have done that here and there when I stalled, especially early in the process. That was where I found this egg loaf recipe that I fell in love with. I haven't done it probably in about a year. It's hard. I love eggs, but it gets really hard to eat nothing but eggs, even if it's only for 3 days. But I have lost weight on that, and it's helped me to take off some of the water weight that I would occasionally get. I do not swell like I used to. That is something that I found pretty quickly with following this diet. Is I had problems with my ankles swelling a lot, in my hands, and since I've been eating this way, I don't have that problem like I used to, and that makes me so happy. Being a diabetic, you always have to worry about your circulation, especially in your feet and legs, so that is just something that's helped a lot. All right, guys, I think that's all I have for right now. Please feel free to comment below. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you've tried this before, it didn't work for you. If there's anything I can help you with, I'll try my hardest. I research a lot. Some of the knowledge has left me because I did a lot of research in the beginning. Now it's just kind of become such a lifestyle that I don't think that much about it. Again, I don't call myself a keto girl because I don't follow those kind of macros. But I try not to eat any kind of carbohydrates except for what are in vegetables. We are a very vegetable forward family. Usually you will find 2 vegetables on our plate instead of a starch and a protein. So 2 vegetables and a protein, bam, you're good to go. Even the kids are pretty good with that, although sometimes I throw a little bit of extra stuff in there just because they're hungry, and George and I are good with that. Sometimes they're like, but I want a burrito. I don't want to have it on an open thing. So sometimes I do that. I try. I'm not perfect either, so let me just let you know that I do have my days where I might have something I shouldn't have had, and I usually regret it. I try to really enjoy it in the moment, though, and I own it, and I'm like, I shouldn't have eaten that, but oh, it was delicious, and then just move on. I also try to limit it. If I do eat something that I shouldn't eat, like fried chicken is my downfall, I try not to eat very much of it. A little bit, I'm usually good for a couple of months before I jump off the wagon again and have a little bit. But I have found that there are, I try to make my own. So they're better substitutions. But sometimes you're out and about and, those chicken nuggets are calling your name. It happens. It's okay. Just remember, if you fall off or you ate something that you shouldn't have and you're like, oh, that's terrible, I've just ruined everything. You haven't. Just get back on the horse. It's going to be okay. All right, guys, I wish you the best new year. Happy 2020. I'm hoping for health and happiness for myself, my family, and all of you out there. So thank you very much for watching my videos. I really hope that you'll subscribe and give me a thumbs up. Let me know what you like, what you don't like, maybe what you want to see. I'm going to keep making some videos for you. So thanks. All right, guys, be good to each other. Peace. Smile. You never know when your smile is going to make somebody else's day. All right. Thanks. Bye.